One Piece chapter 1128. First and foremost, I take back everything I said previously. I said, oh, this has got to be the first time Zoro showed up on a new island, didn't get lost. Nope, he was lost. It just happened off screen. Second, holy, like, I should have known that the Straw Hats found some kind of way to fuck this up. Like, I should have known. All of them were together like this, and sure enough, we find out that those big creatures they're fighting, oh yeah, they're kind of important. Like, only Luffy and Zoro and Nami too, you know, even she's not immune to it. Like, they would find a way to just come in. It reminds me of Skypiea, where they came in and right away you knew, oh, okay, there are laws here. They're going to break them unintentionally. And it's like, this is good for conflict. But man, I kind of feel like they're in over their head right now. And, you know, like, I should know better. I know that they're going to find a way to get out of the mess they're in. But as of right now, this does feel like they're being set up. There's got to be some kind of punishment coming down the pipeline. So let's back things up, and we'll touch on that later on. But so let's just back things up and get into the recap portion itself. So I like how one of the first things we see here is just more comedy, and I laugh my ass off here. Sanji is just continuing the previous conversation we had where he's like, oh yeah, this definitely can't be a dream. And the reason why he knows it can't be a dream is he's like, there wouldn't be any men here. And as he's holding Nami, I love the look that she gives him. This bitch is looking like, what kind of dreams are you having? And that's a rhetorical question. And if I'm not mistaken, the way that Oda has this drawn, he's got the sweat beads already inside of her speech bubble, where it's like even Nami's creeped out. And it's like, it makes you go all the way back to the time skip, right? Sanji was on that island, all the drag queens and everything. And Sanji was just so psychologically traumatized, where we knew that he was infinitely horny just based off what we saw on Fishman Island. But it's like the man's dreams gotta be the most perverted shit ever. Like, somebody go get Pudding and tell Pudding to get her future husband, no pedophile. But it's one of those things like, man, I cannot believe that Sanji just outright says this. Like, you simping for Nami like that, and you gotta understand, even Nami would draw a line at something like that. And so I do like how Oda just does not miss a beat here. And he has Sanji take Nami. They jump out of that castle. And that's when Zoro drops the whole thing of like, yeah, you know, I woke up on the other side of town. I heard the noise and I just followed it. And I found this guy fishing or finishing off a rabbit. And that's when you have Luffy telling Usopp, like, fam, you could have beaten that giant cat. That's not a problem. What's happening here? And so Luffy's kind of affirming what I was thinking. Like, yeah, like not Sanji, but Nami and Usopp should have been strong enough to be able to fight off the creatures that they had. And Usopp just immediately just redirects. And he's like, here's what I think happened. So we're clearly on Elbaph. We're in the Elbaph warrior clothes. So I'm glad I was right on that. And he's like, so we had to have been turned into giants because there's no reason they would have clothes our size. And at first I'm going, that kind of makes sense. But I'm like, if you got turned into giants, then how big is everything else? Why wouldn't they have just resized you to be even bigger than some of the creatures, right? Like, that's where I was kind of thinking, right? And even Nami takes it for a second. She's like, so it could be Elbaph that we're on. And it doesn't also make sense that these trees and this other stuff isn't true. It isn't real. So even Nami's like, that's a good hypothesis, but I don't think you're fully right. And we later find out that basically they've been dropped in like a giant version of Legoland, but we'll touch on that in a second. And so that's where Zoro gets the bright idea. Like, there are people in town, so we should go ask around. And that's where Sanji's like, if there are other people in the crew here, they're definitely not on this island, or rather, it's not all of them. And when Nami asks, like, how the fuck could you know something like that? He's like, or Usopp asks it, right? Sanji, he says the Midar. Now, at first, I thought he was going to say the Mendar, and I was like, that don't make sense. Because you had the asterisk there, and so I thought that he was just kind of watching himself because of what Nami's prior comments were. But it just, again, like Oda's taking, he's leaning into the jokes that, I'm making and probably the fandoms made. Like, if there's a simp radar, if there's a simp sixth sense, this dude definitely has it. And even Nami's like, so you're a dog now. And at this point, it's like, okay, I'm waiting for Sanji to start woofing and barking again, like in what we saw in Elbaph, man. Like that clip, that's forever meme material. Like I saw one of the anime clips by accident where he was walking and he's just woofing like a dog. But basically, what we end up seeing is that the Straw Hats, like this whole place is completely crazy. It's unnatural. I don't understand what's going on. And one of the giants just drives by there on a grasshopper. And he just starts laying out the law of the land to him. It's like, hey, I can't sit around. You guys look like you're new here, but basically the land you're in right now belongs to the sun god. And he breaks down, you have Bigstein Castle. And once that happens, he starts explaining more of the information. He's like, yeah, the needle god is a hedgehog that is looking for food. And like Nami's like, whoops. And then Usopp has to cover up Luffy's mouth because they talk about how the giant rabbit was burned down to death. And then they get told, like, if you're hungry, you should go looking for fodder. And I like how the Straw Hats are basically trying to act innocent here. But then this is where the guy fucks up. He's like, you must never go into the other side of the castle, the other direction, because you have vicious soldiers. Nobody's come back alive. And when Nami hears that, she's like, dude, do not say that. And you have Luffy, and it's like, okay, Luffy's about to go fuck this up. And sure enough, you turn the next page, Luffy's taking off running. And I like how Nami has the sense of mind as everybody's running after Luffy. Nami has the sense of mind to just turn around, wink at the guy, stick her tongue out and say sorry for everything. The guy turns into a super simp. And I don't think he truly understands until after they leave. She's apologizing in advance, like, yeah, all that shit that you just named, we're responsible for it. I'm cute. Do not hold me responsible for it. That's basically what Nami was going for here. And when Zoro's like vicious soldiers, he's ready to fight. And then you got Sanji. Sanji's like, Luffy only acts like that because of you, which that's not true. That's like the bickering back and forth between Sanji and Zoro. You take it and you run with it. But I do like how they're just completely snapping into character here. And Luffy's like, I smell adventure. We got vicious soldiers. We got gods here. And it's like, this is Skypiea all over again. This is Skypiea all over again. You're going to have to protect Luffy from himself. And Zoro's got the itch as well. And that's when Luffy is like, oh, there's somebody dressed with clothes like us running our way. And his dumbass does not realize it's a mirror. He runs smack dab into it. And then that's where they look and like, wait a second, like, this is a room here. What's happening? And then they run into Chopper. Chopper has been outfitted. He's got a collar on, which that's just running with the running gag of people think Chopper's a dog. And as they're looking at everything, that's where Usopp's like, oh, it's all blocks. What's going on here? And Sanji, being as observant as he is, he's already done some recon, basically. He's like, this kind of makes sense. The mirrors are made from this material. And as they're looking around, he gets the brilliant idea. He's like, Nami, I really think that I should be the one that cleans the women's cabin next. And it's because the mirrors are see-through. You already know where his mind is. Sanji has gone completely horny mode. And then that's when Nami just kicks him in the face. And it's like, don't you even think about doing something like that. And that's where Usopp and Zoro, they start brainstorming. They're figuring everything out. And they're like, okay, so somebody clearly made this Legoland, basically. They're dropping humans and animals in here to see what would happen. But what's the end game here? And the only things Usopp's got right. It's like, yeah, this is creepy, but we're already in Elbaph, so this has to be the working of a god. This has to be the working of a giant. And Chopper has the right idea. He's like, we need to make sure that everyone is accounted for before we try and get out of here because we're clearly in danger. And as they're laying out their plan, Luffy has already started picking a fight. There's a giant serpent. Luffy just immediately goes right into battle mode. And as this is going on, we see the sun god walking in. It's like, okay, the staff has like the sun shape for it, so it makes sense. The battles are taking place. And as you got fire and all these things raging on, the sun god's like, you animals, keep it down. Luffy's already in a gear 5. Luffy's battling. The sun god's getting super pissed off. And as that happens and they realize that they've been caught, that giant cat comes through. Chopper's now translating for us. They get on top of the cat. They start running. And it's because the sun god, which has this, looks like deer face or something, like mask, is getting completely pissed off. So it looks like the sun god's obviously a giant. But they talk about they need to escape. And the sun god says that he's not going to allow it. And so this is interesting. This is very interesting because I'm getting Skypiea vibes here. And I'll be curious to see how Oda navigates this because, like, for the life of me, I don't get why people hate Skypiea. But if Elbaph ends up being like another Skypiea, I love basically every arc of One Piece outside of that Gaimon short arc. I'm curious to see how Oda navigates this, man. Like, I'm already falling in love with this arc. And, like, my chapter question to you guys is going to be, when you first started going through this, like, what were your initial thoughts? What were your initial thoughts? Did you get Skypiea vibes like I did? Let me know down in the comment section below. So always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.